In the early 1400s, the kings of England still held lands in France, especially Aquitaine in the southwest. The French king, Philip VI, said the English king was not behaving like a loyal vassal, and in 1337, he confiscated Aquitaine. England's King Edward III answered with a much bigger claim. Through his mother Isabella, he said he was the rightful king of France. French nobles rejected him and backed the Valois line instead. That dispute over who should rule France lit the fuse for what we call the 100 Years' War. At first, England shocked France with speed, raids, and the famous longbow. In 1346, Edward invaded Normandy and won a huge battle at Crécy. 10 years later, his son, the Black Prince, defeated the French at Poitiers and captured King John II. These victories put northern France under pressure while English control in Aquitaine expanded. In 1360, the Treaty of Brétigny handed England large territories, including much of Aquitaine, and France agreed to a massive ransom for its king. Edward even promised to pause his claim to the French crown, at least on paper. But peace did not last. By 1369, the war restarted, and the French counterattacked under King Charles V and his commander Bertrand du Guesclin. Instead of big set battles, France used patience, fortresses, and small strikes. Over the next years, England lost many of its gains in Normandy and other regions. Aquitaine stayed the main English stronghold, centered on Bordeaux, but even there, French pressure grew. This phase showed the war was not one straight story of English victories, but a long tug of war that could swing back fast. By the late 1400s, both kingdoms were exhausted. England faced high taxes and political trouble at home. France was hit by civil conflict and the repeated return of plague. A long truce began in 1389, and for a generation the fighting slowed. Still, neither side gave up its claims, and the English kings kept dreaming of restoring the big map they had held after Brétigny. When new rulers arrived, especially the ambitious Henry V of England, the war roared back to life. Henry V invaded in 1415 and marched through Normandy again. At Agincourt, his outnumbered army beat French knights in one of the war's most famous battles. Over the next few years, Henry conquered most of Normandy and took Paris with help from the powerful Burgundian faction. In 1420, the Treaty of Troyes declared Henry heir and regent of France, and he married Catherine of Valois, daughter of King Charles VI. The French Dauphin, Charles, was disinherited and pushed south. For a moment, it looked like England had nearly won. Then history turned again. Henry V died in 1422, just months before Charles VI. Henry's infant son, Henry VI, was proclaimed king of both England and France, but real power was shaky. The Dauphin still controlled parts of central and southern France, and many French nobles refused to accept English rule. The war now became tied to French survival itself, not just feudal land disputes. Northern France, including Normandy and Paris, leaned English and Burgundian, while the south rallied around Charles. In 1428, the English tried to finish the job by attacking the Loire Valley, the gateway into Charles' territory. They laid siege to Orléans, a key city on the river. If Orléans fell, English forces could push deeper into the south and cut Charles off from support. Inside the besieged city, morale was low, and it seemed a surrender might be close. That is when a teenage peasant girl from Lorraine, Joan of Arc, arrived claiming a divine mission to save France. Joan convinced Charles to let her join the army. In 1429, she entered Orléans, inspired the defenders, and within days, the English were forced to lift the siege. French troops then won a string of victories along the Loire, including at Patay, breaking the English field army in that region. Joan escorted Charles to Reims for his coronation as King Charles VII, strengthening his legitimacy. She was later captured by Burgundian allies of England, tried for heresy, and executed in 1431. But the momentum she sparked didn't die. After Joan, France rebuilt step by step. Charles VII reformed the army, created more reliable taxes, and leaned on new artillery that could smash castles. The French also healed their internal split. In 1435, the Burgundians switched sides, isolating England. Normandy slowly fell back to France, ending with the French victory at Formigny in 1450. Then, attention returned to Aquitaine. English rule there had lasted centuries, but in 1453, the French won at Castillon, a battle where artillery played a major role. Soon, Bordeaux surrendered, and Aquitaine was lost. By 1453, the war was effectively over. England kept only Calais on the continent, and even that would be lost later. France emerged with a stronger monarchy and a clearer sense of national identity. England turned inward and soon fell into the Wars of the Roses. The 100 Years' War was not one single war, but a series of campaigns, truces, and renewals across more than a century. Yet its map story is clear. English power rose in Normandy and Aquitaine, then shrank, while French recovery centered on the Loire and pushed outward until the kingdom was whole again.